Te Totara stars.
Hi, my name is Riley, and I'm a Year 6 student at Te Totara Primary School. Today I'm interviewing Mrs. Sims. Hi, Mrs. Sims. What was your job before you started at Te Totara?
Actually, I was at home. I was looking after my two boys. I had a 6-year-old and a 4-year-old, and I was also doing some library and information studies papers while I was there.
What made you decide to apply to work at Te Totara?
Actually, I heard there was a new school opening up, and I emailed Mr. Sheedy and said, do you want someone to volunteer? Because I thought, that'd be cool, a new library starting up. So I thought I would help out. And so I did. I started, the school started over in Bankwood. The main, Mr. Sheedy and Mrs. Fraser and that were working over there. And I went out there and helped cover some books and things. And then Mrs. Wine, who was the assistant principal, she rang me up and offered me a job. So I said, yes, please.
What was your role on day one at Te Totara?
I was actually a library assistant, and I was employed for 2 hours a day. So that was what I did.
What do you remember about the first day? How were you feeling?
I was really nervous the first day because I'd never worked in a school before and I'd never worked in a library before. And not only was it my first day, but it was also my son's first day. It was we moved schools, and so he was starting here too. So the two of us, it was our first day together. And I remember all the staff and the students, they got to cut a ribbon. They had a special ribbon cutting ceremony, so I've still got a piece of that ribbon. And then as parents, we got to have a look around the buildings that were open, which was just Marama and Milky Way were the only ones that were there. And then, that was the first day.
What was the first year like?
Lots of books, covering books. That's because we had nothing. We just had Mrs. Wine had gone off and bought lots of books, but they all needed to be covered and put in the catalogue. So it was a lot of covering, and we didn't actually open the library until the 9th of May. So that was in the second term. So the first term the kids had no books. And we had a special ceremony for that too. And then, speaking of ceremonies, we had a special official opening by the Governor-General, who came and declared the school open, and that was a bit later in the year. It was really dusty. So every time I bought my car, if it was clean, it would get covered in dust by the end of the day, because they were still finishing building Orion and Matawhero. They were still building those. And then I remember going, so what's Earth and Ra? They went there, and it was just field. And the field, they tried to sow grass on the field, but it didn't take, so it was dust. And we used to have our assembly in Milky Way. In room 20 and 21, there's a wall that you could actually pull aside. And so in those two classrooms, that's where we had the whole school assembly. And as we were going there, you'd get this dust storm, you'd be like, because there was no hill either. You know how we've got that hill there? That breaks a lot of the wind from coming through. So, yes, you'd get covered in dust going through there.
What are some of the most memorable things that have happened during your time at the school?
Well, first off, in that first year, I was part of a group of 4, and we did the yearbook. So we did the first ever yearbook, so that was pretty memorable. And then, of course, all of the things that we've had in the library. We've had lots of authors and illustrators. We've had some excellent book weeks. Pretty memorable, Mr. Sheedy dressing up as a spy. Do you remember that, for Spy Week? He pretended to be a spy. And early on, I made this library video, and we pretended that the library had been taken over by aliens, and we tied Mr. Sheedy up for that too. So he's been a pretty good sport when it comes to appearing in our videos. Another big thing was the Reading Wonderland. So before that was there, it was just concrete and it wasn't enclosed, and it wasn't very exciting to be there. So that was pretty big when we, Mrs. R and I had the idea of making it feel like a little world in there. And we got Jenna Naismith, who's one of our teacher aides, to come in and decorate it for us and paint it. And, I'd be telling her things like, oh, now I want clouds on the ceiling, and I want it, if you squint, that you could maybe see pictures in the clouds. And she was really good, so she made our Reading Wonderland. And then also memorable, because I had my two sons go through, were all the things like the production and camps, and you haven't had it yet, but the Year 6 Leavers Dinner, also quite memorable.
How are things different from now and when you first started?
Well, we've had Mrs. Roran Pandy start, so that was awesome, because then I had someone else to talk to in the library. And we have our volunteers now, so we've always had people help cover our books, which has been amazing, but now we've got people come in and help issue our books for our teachers. Lots of technology changes. So when we started, we had an iMac in the classroom, and that was it. And then we got iPods, and then iPads, and now things like Seesaw, the app, so you can communicate with parents, and Epic and e-platform, so apps that you can read ebooks and audiobooks. And the school, obviously, it's a lot larger now. There's lots more staff and students. The area's changed, so you would have seen we had hills at the back with cows, and now they're building the retirement village there. But when I started, I couldn't find the school. So the first time, I knew I was coming here for the first day, and I went to try and find it. And when you got to the end of Moonlight Drive and you turned right, that was dirt road. And then off that dirt road was another dirt road, which was Hector Drive. There were no houses, and it wasn't on any maps. So I got lost trying to find the place. So yeah, lots of changes.
Thanks for sharing your memories with us.
Thanks, Riley.